In episode 32, Delphi and anonymous elicitation methods, we examine how structured anonymity can turn quiet knowledge into clear signal. Many experts temper their views when rank, politics, or personalities are in the room. An anonymous process removes that pressure, encouraging candor and independence before any group influence sets in. The result is not magic consensus, but a more honest map of what people actually think and why. When uncertainty is high and evidence is patchy, these methods create disciplined space for judgment to mature across rounds, transforming scattered intuition into reasoned estimates and well-framed risks. Everything begins with a precisely defined question. Vague prompts produce vague answers, so the facilitator crafts wording that specifies the object, scope, and time frame. The question should be answerable with an estimate, range, or ranked list, and it should clarify units and boundaries up front. If scenarios or assumptions are required, they are stated explicitly and applied consistently to all panelists. Precision at the start reduces cleanup later, and it ensures that differences in responses reflect true belief rather than confusion about what was being asked. Panel selection decides the quality of the signal before the first response arrives. Diversity matters. Include practitioners, domain specialists, operators, and people responsible for outcomes, not only theorists. Qualifications should be visible to the facilitator but not to peers, preserving anonymity while ensuring relevance. Aim for cognitive variety, different training backgrounds, and organizational vantage points, because correlated expertise often yields correlated blind spots. The goal is a panel that can disagree intelligently from multiple angles on the same question. Round 1 is independent and blind by design. Each panelist submits estimates or qualitative judgments without any exposure to other inputs. Independence reduces anchoring and social conformity, letting priors surface unfiltered. Provide a place for brief rationales, 2 to 4 sentences that cite assumptions, data sources, or experience. Those rationales are gold in later rounds because they show how people thought, not just what number they chose. Silence between experts in this phase is not isolation, it is protection for original thinking. After collecting the first round, the facilitator summarizes results without revealing identities. Distributions, not personalities, take center stage. The summary should show the spread of estimates, highlight outliers, and present the central tendency in plain language. Where applicable, include short, anonymized excerpts from rationales that represent different lines of reasoning. This curated picture allows participants to confront the marketplace of ideas without the noise of hierarchy or performance anxiety. Ranges, medians, and rationales deserve equal attention. The median communicates a robust center. The range exposes disagreement. The rationales explain why differences exist. If the range is wide, that may indicate missing information, differing assumptions, or distinct reference classes. Calling this out explicitly helps the second round serve as a learning cycle rather than a guessing contest. In short, show the shape of belief and the reasons behind it, not just a single summary statistic. Round 2 invites revision after seeing the distribution. Panelists review the summary and may adjust their estimates, clarify assumptions, or hold their ground. The facilitator encourages reflection. Did new rationales expose an overlooked dependency or a fresher data point? The aim is not convergence for its own sake, it is informed independence. When people move, it should be because they learned, not because they felt pressure to be average. Large shifts deserve justification to preserve signal integrity. When a panelist changes meaningfully, ask for a short explanation of what persuaded the change. Was it a rival assumption, a piece of historical evidence, or recognition of a missing constraint? Capturing this why turns movement into knowledge rather than noise. Over time, these justifications reveal which arguments carry predictive power and which merely echo fashion. Anonymized methods can falter if participants tire or drop out, so attrition and fatigue must be managed. Keep rounds short, questions crisp, and interfaces simple. Share a clear schedule in advance and limit the number of items per cycle to protect attention. If the panel is large, consider rotating subgroups while keeping a stable core for continuity. The facilitator's job is to protect the cognitive budget of the experts so quality survives to the end. Stop rules prevent infinite refinement. Common rules include stability of the median across consecutive rounds, narrowing of ranges below a threshold, or a predefined maximum number of cycles. Choose the rule that matches the decision tempo and the cost of delay. Stopping too early risks brittle conclusions. Stopping too late wastes energy and encourages false precision. Make the rule explicit up front so participants understand the finish line and lean into the process. When the exercise ends, extract both consensus and dissent narratives. Consensus tells you what the center believes under shared assumptions. Dissent tells you where surprises may emerge. Summarize the majority view, then preserve minority rationales that are coherent and evidence-linked. Future conditions may validate a minority position, so treat dissent as an asset, not a rounding error. In risk work, the edge cases often become tomorrow's headlines. Convert the outputs into clear, testable risk statements. Use the cause-risk-effect pattern, embed time frame and scope, and reference the assumptions revealed in the rounds. If the panel produced ranges, translate them into leading indicators and triggers for monitoring. Where the panel identified opportunities, write separate upside statements with ownership for exploitation. The goal is to move seamlessly from expert judgment to operational artifacts that guide action. Ethical handling of contributions is non-negotiable. Protect panelist identity, store data securely, and be transparent about how responses will be used. Do not attribute quotes without consent, and avoid selective disclosure that could misrepresent the distribution of views. When stakeholders ask, share the method, the question, the stop rule, and the synthesized results, not individuals' names. Ethical rigor sustains the trust needed to run these processes again. Facilitator neutrality is the quiet engine that keeps bias at bay. Avoid leading language in questions. Do not weight explanations by perceived authority, and resist the urge to steer toward a preferred outcome. When summarizing, present competing rationales with comparable visibility and clarity. Neutrality does not mean passivity. It means fairness in framing and discipline in curation. The facilitator is responsible for the quality of the mirror, not the image it reflects. Finally, embed the method into the broader government's rhythm. Log unique identifiers for each Delphi item, link outputs to the risk register, and schedule post-decision reviews to compare outcomes against panel estimates. Track where Delphi-informed statements proved accurate, overcautious, or optimistic, and feed that learning into future panel selection and prompt design. Over time, the organization calibrates its experts and its questions, raising the signal-to-noise ratio with every cycle. Anonymity, structure, better signal, that is the promise. When independence precedes interaction and evidence follows reflection, expert judgment becomes clearer, kinder, and more useful. These methods do not eliminate uncertainty. They make it visible and discussable without the distortions of status or style. By honoring both the wisdom of the group and the integrity of the individual, Delphi and related techniques turn quiet expertise into shared foresight, ready to be written into statements, monitored as indicators, and acted upon with confidence. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.